Welcome to the Real Estate Espresso Podcast, your morning shot of what's new in the world of real estate investing. I'm your host, Victor Menashe. This is the weekend edition where we interview notable people from the world of real estate investing. Today's no exception. We have a great guest, but first, a quick thank you to our sponsor. One of my friends in the real estate space, Rod Cleef, is hosting another one of his live events in Denver, May 17th to 19th, and it's all about multifamily investing. I've been a guest on his wildly popular podcast. If you've never been to one of his events, you've got to go, and I highly recommend you do. I've got a discount code that will get you $100 off the ticket price. Go to rodsbootcamp.com and enter the code ESPRESSO at checkout. That's rodsbootcamp.com and enter the discount code ESPRESSO to get $100 off your tickets. We are back. Here on the weekend edition, we interview notable people from the world of real estate investing. Today's no exception. We have a great guest all the way from Vancouver, British Columbia. Welcome to the show, Patrick Francey.
I'm usually saying welcome. So, Victor, happy to be on the show. Thanks, pal.
Great to have you here. We got to know each other over the last several years, and you're one of the key principals at RAIN, the Real Estate Investment Network, which has a huge following all across Canada. Why don't you give us a little bit of your backstory and how you got into this particular segment of the real estate industry?
It's an interesting question. I'm CEO and managing partner for the Real Estate Investment Network, but I've been actively building business and owning business for about 35 years now. And for me, this is another one of my, RAIN became one of my other entrepreneurial accidents, if you would. I was owning businesses back many years ago, and in about 2000, as I was always paying attention to those people I admired who were very successful, it seemed that it didn't matter how successful somebody was financially and in their business, whatever that business might be, by the way, they always on the side were investing in real estate. They were not only growing their businesses, but they were taking capital from those businesses and investing it in real estate. And because I wanted to, model myself after people who were successful, I, in fact, started investing in real estate back in 2000 after I found the Real Estate Investment Network. And interestingly enough is that I, of course, joined as a part of the RAIN community to learn how to invest in real estate, which I did. Over that period of time, I happened to get to know Don and his wife, Connie, and my wife, Stephanie, actually got to know Connie, and all sorts of you watch the path in reflection, you view it and you realize that, okay, that's how this is all unfolded. One thing led to another, and we actually got to know Don and Connie to a point that we were vacationing with them. We were going to one of our favorite places in St. Lucia, the Body Holiday, and we were sitting on the beach one December. I was coming off a project, and Don said to me, "So, what are you going to do after this project? I could really use some help with RAIN. We're growing like crazy. It's more than I can take on my own. And given your background, how would you like to support it?" So that led to me moving to Vancouver from Edmonton. And although I still have residences in Edmonton, and I kind of back and forth, that's how that unfolded. And that's why I called it a bit of an entrepreneurial accident. It was never my intention, but it's how things unfolded. And because I had a great interest in not only investing in real estate, but growing business and growing a team and being a contribution, that's how that showed up for me. And here I am today.
I've been to some of your events. I've been to your Rain Acre event, and you fill this giant ballroom with 700 to 1,000 people and give often several days of great real estate education, some for rookies, some for folks that are more advanced. What's it been like transitioning from just investing into a little bit more of the education business?
Well, that's a great question, because at some point I had to make a decision. So I had built my real estate portfolio, had some success in real estate, of course. And like everybody, I've had some disasters that I continue to manage and work through. But when I really got to a point in my real estate portfolio, I had achieved what I had intended to achieve investing in real estate, which was to create a financial future and to make sure that my financial future was looked after as I decided maybe to quit doing business. Ultimately, my passion is a couple things. Number one is building business, but also in the world of RAIN, it became this really great business model. For me, what fires me up is being a contribution. And RAIN is interesting in the business model because our success really depends on us supporting others to succeed in real estate. And for me, that's where my contribution lives. That's where my sense of fulfillment lives. And as much as I enjoy being on stage, for example, it's not what drives me. What really drives me is supporting others in having success. I've always had a mindset in my world of 35 years of business of being a leader, of coaching, of guiding, of hopefully elevating and lifting others to achieve their goals, to achieve their dreams. And RAIN was a beautiful model to do that through education, through proven systems. And that's how I kind of operate. That's how I think. I like to look at where is the win-win in any of the relationships that I'm in. So for me, it was as much as about building real estate was really about the foundation of what supported wealth well into the future, an annuity, if you will. I'd achieved quite a nice portfolio. I have a great portfolio. I still do deals, by the way, but my business isn't investing in real estate. My business is educating, teaching people to invest in real estate and surrounding myself with experts like you. So a fellow podcaster who's really successful investing in real estate, like someone like yourself, that's the relationships that I'm driven to build.
One of the things that draws me to you, and is a fundamental thing that I rarely see in the education business, I often see educators that are not active investors anymore. They haven't been investing in years. They're advocating strategies that worked 10 or 15 years ago. And there's an integrity issue with that. I think in order to effectively educate in the world of real estate, it's a dynamic area. The market conditions change. Strategies that worked 5 years ago don't work today, or so often they don't. And so the fact that you are still an active investor brings a lot of integrity to the process.
So important, to stay engaged in it. And, RAIN has been a traditional style of investor in terms of buy and hold. My partner, Richard Dolan, and I continue to be investors, by the way. And although I'm not in it as much, I'm often the capital partner. I'm also paying very close attention to the deals that I'm getting into, but RAIN is also expanding as an educator. So we now look and say, well, buy and hold is a great strategy. I think it's foundational to those just starting out because it teaches you so much about investing. But now we're educating around limited partnerships, understanding how a REIT works. How do you do your diligence on an LP or a REIT as an example? Then we get into very advanced strategies around agreements for sale and rent to own and understanding how those work in what market conditions and how to shift your tactic and your strategy to actually accommodate the market conditions. And I'm going to share this with you is that we just launched this past weekend at one of our acre events in Toronto. We're really seeing technology and how it changes. We've been seeing that for a couple of years. So we talk about artificial intelligence. We talk about digital footprints that we leave. And we just launched an app that we call Ruckus. And Ruckus is really an app that is pocket listings, but we say pocket listing at your fingertips. And that is built for real estate investors. It's an app. It's an opportunity for you to get online, see real estate investor focused deals that people have, put the properties up there. They say, here it is. It's for sale. It's not for sale, but they're putting the listings on there, which is then providing data for individuals who are investors to really read certain marketplaces and look at opportunities.
That's awesome. I think there's certainly a need for that in the marketplace, and there's so few realtors out there that are investor focused, which frankly astounds me because if you think about the life of a traditional realtor, they get repeat business every 5-10 years. Whereas if you are focused on the investor community, if you're dealing with investors that are even halfway successful, you could be doing 5-10 deals a year with just one customer. You don't need that many customers to do a large volume of business. Now, that's a little bit of an aside, but one of the things that, and maybe this will be a little bit of a challenging question, one of the issues I see often in the education business is that people tend to teach real estate. They tend to teach the technical aspects, the mechanics. And in order, as you know, to have a successful business, you need to know the technical, but you also need all of those other skills. You need marketing, you need negotiation, you need leadership, you need business management, financial management, you need all those other things. And the folks that focus strictly on the mechanics of, how to do a wholesale deal are missing the mark, and most of the folks that emerge from those trainings are not successful. What are your thoughts?
Well, I think that's a great point that you make. One of the things, RAIN's been around for 27 years, and we literally have 150,000 graduates. We have a constant churn of people that are coming through the system. We have a track record of supporting people in their success. And that's for a number of reasons, not the least of which is the education that we provide is not just in the mechanics, although we do provide the mechanics of it at a very foundational level. We also teach something that others don't teach, and that we really are, as much as we're an education business, we're also a research company. And we provide the economic fundamentals of any given region. We give the analysis, and we also teach individuals how to look at the economic fundamentals. We have a segment that we've had for many years called What's Behind the Curtain, which is the ability to look at the headlines, which are usually doom and gloom, be able to really get behind what they are, what they mean, and what are the market influencers, what are the true in a market influencer being short-term. So, for example, right now we have the bank doing what it's doing in terms of stress testing. That's a market influencer. Will it be around forever? Likely not. But in the meantime, what it does, slows the market down, throws things off. So we're teaching people the art of looking at an economic fundamental, looking at what's a driver, what's truly a driver, like GDP growth and employment growth, as an example, versus an influencer, such as a short-term blip in interest rates or a short-term change in banking conditions, which we have currently. And then being able to look at and take that into any market and make a decision about where they see real estate going, not where it's been, and looking into the future. So we are truly teaching people how to fish and look at markets so that they can go outside of whatever market they're in even. And if you're living in Ontario, for example, look at an Alberta market, look at the BC market, look at the economic fundamentals, say this is a cool market. What tactic, what strategy can you use to do that? So that's one of the reasons we have the success that we have and the mechanics. The second thing that we do very, very well, Victor, is the people that we put on the stage are experts in those specific areas. So we love to take individuals that are boots on the ground, in the trenches, in that particular city, in that particular neighborhood, and share with people what they're getting on a day-to-day basis. Economic fundamentals, there's always a lag. The information, even if it's always it could be 30, 60, 90 days old. Well, what happened today? What are we seeing in the news releases and decisions that are made in Hamilton today based on that municipality, for example? So that's a really important part of the model as well, that beyond just the basics and the fundamentals, we're actually bringing experts onto the stage that are speaking in real time what's going on in the trenches and in the market.
I think that's so important, and I love that. One of the things that I've discovered, and it was almost a happy accident over the past year and a bit that I've been running this podcast, as I've been reporting what's going on in the marketplace, I find that I'm often reporting the news before the news. I see things appear in news stories 2-3 weeks after I've reported it on the podcast. And when that happens, it's like, oh, wow, that's cool. And it's not something that I set out to do, but what I discovered is that when you're truly paying attention to a marketplace and you're not just looking at what's in the newspaper, you're really paying attention for real, you can actually see those trends before they get reported.
And what's interesting about that, Victor, is only guys like you, developers like you, real estate investors like yourself can do that, because you're literally on a day-to-day basis at the effect of what's going on in any specific geographic region. And so what RAIN has done, I think, well, and we're always improving on it, is being able to bring that to our audience, whether it be on stage live on monthly events that we do, or in some of the recordings that we do in terms of ask webinars or different initiatives that we have online that are supporting people and getting that information really quickly and staying current and up to date.
I love it. Well, if folks want to get in touch, what's the best way?
The best way to get in touch, two things. I take emails, believe it or not, CEO@raincanada.com, CEO@REINcanada.com, and or info@Rain Canada, and or raincanada.com is our website. It's probably the easiest place to get in touch with any of us. And of course, as a fellow podcaster, listen to the Everyday Millionaire podcast, and I appreciate you being on my show as well.
Well, thank you, Patrick. Thanks for joining us this weekend. And for the listeners at home, have an awesome rest of your weekend. Go make some great things happen. We'll talk to you again tomorrow.